Can you believe it? You're finally having a baby. Anna squealed, her voice barely containing her excitement. I can't wait to see the little one. Neither can I replied, adjusting my floral dress that was starting to feel a little tight. But first, let's get through this shower without any drama. Drama? With your mother-in-law coming? You might as well have invited a tornado, Anna chuckled, grabbing a cupcake from the table. I rolled my eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. You know she means well. Most of the time. Right, well, let's hope today is one of those times. Just remember, if she starts to get out of line, I'm here to back you up. Thanks, but I think I can handle it. I've been practicing my polite smile in the mirror. As I scanned the room filled with pastel decorations, laughter, and the faint scent of lavender, my heart began to flutter with anticipation and dread. My husband, Daniel, was busy setting up the gifts, while Anna continued to chat excitedly about baby names. Have you thought of any names yet? She asked, her eyes sparkling. A few, but I want to keep it a surprise until the baby is born, I said, my voice firm. You know your mother-in-law is going to have something to say about that, right? Anna smirked. Yeah, but I'll just tell her it's our baby and we get to decide, I replied, but deep down, I was already bracing myself for the inevitable. Let's hope she remembers that, Anna laughed as she looked towards the door. And here she comes. My stomach dropped as I spotted Mary, my mother-in-law, stepping into the room. Her designer outfit and perfectly styled hair made her look as if she was ready for a fashion show, not a baby shower. I could already see the look on her face, that mix of judgment and superiority. Darling. She called out, striding over. This place is charming, but you really could have gone for a more upscale theme. Thanks, Mary, I said, forcing a smile. I wanted something cozy and inviting. Cozy? How quaint, she replied, a hint of sarcasm lacing her words. Now, have you decided on names? I hope you're considering something traditional. Actually, we were thinking about some modern names, I said, trying to keep my tone light. Modern? Like what? Apple or Blue? Mary scoffed, shaking her head. Your child deserves a name with history. Something dignified. Before I could respond, Anna chimed in, oh, come on, Mary. It's their baby, not yours. Let them choose. Mary shot Anna a glare that could freeze fire. And who are you to comment? This is a family matter, and as the grandmother, I have every right to voice my opinion. Actually, you don't, I interjected, my patience wearing thin. This is about me and Daniel, not your past. Oh please, how naive you are, Mary snapped. You think you can raise a child without guidance? You need wisdom from someone who's been there. Are you implying I'm not capable? I retorted, my voice rising slightly. Daniel, sensing the tension, stepped in. Mom, maybe we can tone down the comments and focus on the celebration? Mary rolled her eyes. Fine, but I will have my say about the name when the time comes. Can we please just enjoy this day? I asked, trying to regain control. Let's move on to the games. The first game was a simple one, guessing the baby food flavors. Laughter filled the room as we all took turns tasting and making funny faces. Just as we were getting into the spirit, Mary suddenly stood up, her eyes wide with determination. Now, about those names. I've been thinking. How about Charlotte for a girl or James for a boy? She announced, raising her voice. Those are lovely names, Mary, but we really want to choose ourselves, Daniel said gently, trying to steer her back. Choose yourselves? That's rich coming from someone who has no idea what it takes to raise a child. Mary shot back, her tone growing increasingly sharp. Can you not make this about you? I said, feeling the anger rise in my chest. It's not your decision. But it's my grandchild, she yelled, the tension in the room thickening like fog. Mom, please sit down, Daniel urged, but Mary was on a roll. This is ridiculous. I refuse to let you give my grandchild a name that's going to ruin their life. I could feel my cheeks burn with frustration. I can't believe you think you have the right to dictate my child's life. Of course I have that right, she shouted. You're making a terrible mistake. Suddenly, in a fit of rage, Mary grabbed a nearby party hat and threw it across the room. You think this is funny? This is a disaster waiting to happen. Mary, stop, I shouted, my voice shaking. You're embarrassing yourself. Her face turned crimson as she stormed over to the table, knocking over a chair in her path. You don't know what you're doing, she yelled, attracting the attention of everyone in the room. Someone needs to calm her down, Anna whispered urgently to me. This is escalating quickly. Before I could respond, Mary reached for one of the gifts, a beautifully wrapped box, and flung it across the room. You don't deserve this. She screeched. What are you doing? I cried, horrified. Just then, the front door swung open, and 2 uniformed police officers stepped inside, drawn by the commotion. Ma'am, we received a noise complaint. Is everything all right here? One of them asked, looking between Mary and me. Everything is fine, I said, forcing a smile. Just a bit of a disagreement. Mary, however, was not backing down. These people are trying to ruin my grandchild's life, she shouted, pointing a finger at me. The officer raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, we need you to calm down. You're making quite a scene. I am not going to be silenced, Mary yelled, her voice echoing through the room. Mary, please, just sit down, Daniel pleaded, his face filled with concern. Sit down? You want me to sit down while they destroy everything I hold dear? She snapped, her voice filled with rage. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, the officer said firmly. Leave? You can't be serious, Mary exclaimed, disbelief etched on her face. The second officer stepped forward, placing a hand on Mary's shoulder. We can take you out if you don't comply. Fine. I'm leaving, Mary shouted, her voice rising above the shocked gasps of the guests. But you'll regret this. You'll see. As she was escorted out of the house, I felt a mix of relief and disbelief. The party had turned into chaos, and my baby shower had gone from a celebration to a battleground. Are you okay? Anna asked, wrapping her arms around me as the door closed behind Mary. I think so, I replied, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. But I can't believe she lost it like that. Don't worry, you're not alone. We'll get through this together, Anna reassured me. As the tension slowly began to dissipate, I realized that while I might not be able to control Mary, I could control my own journey into motherhood, and that was all that truly mattered. Wow, that was intense, Anna exclaimed, still holding on to me as if afraid I might float away. Did that really just happen? I wish I could say it didn't, I muttered, glancing around the room at the stunned faces of our guests. Some were whispering, while others were trying to piece together what had just occurred. I feel so embarrassed. Embarrassed? You should be furious. Your mother-in-law just stormed in here and tried to take control of your own baby shower. Anna shook her head, her eyes flashing with indignation. You deserve to celebrate without that kind of drama. I know, but... I hesitated, looking down at my hands, which were trembling slightly. It's complicated with Mary. I never wanted to hurt her feelings, but she has a way of pushing my buttons. Well, she definitely pushed them today, Anna said, raising an eyebrow. I think it's time to set some boundaries, don't you? Easier said than done, I replied, biting my lip. I've always wanted to be the daughter-in-law who gets along with her mother-in-law. I didn't think it would come to this. Maybe it's time to rethink that strategy, Daniel chimed in, joining us after speaking with the police officers outside. They're leaving, and I think it's time we address this once and for all. Address what? I asked, confusion swirling in my mind. Your mother's behavior, he replied, his tone serious. I know you want to keep the peace, but she's out of control. Daniel, I don't want to make things worse, I said, my voice shaking. This is supposed to be a happy time. Exactly. It should be about celebrating our baby, not fighting over names or anything else, he countered. Look, I know it's tough, but we have to draw a line somewhere. Just then, the doorbell rang again. Who could that be? I asked, my stomach knotting up again. Let me get it, Daniel said, moving toward the door. As he opened it, I saw his face fall. Daniel, what's wrong? I asked, stepping closer. It was Mary again, her eyes blazing with anger and defiance, her hair slightly disheveled from her earlier outburst. I'm not done with this, she shouted, pushing past Daniel and storming back into the house. Mary, you can't just barge in here after what happened, I exclaimed, shocked. I have every right to be here. This is my grandchild we're talking about, she yelled, ignoring the shocked expressions on our guests' faces. Your grandchild? Or my child? I shot back, my heart racing. I think you're confused about who this is really about. Mary took a deep breath, her expression shifting from rage to something more menacing. You think you can just cut me out? I won't allow it. I won't let you name my grandchild something ridiculous. Again with the names, I snapped. You don't get to decide that. Maybe if you hadn't turned my baby shower into a circus, you would understand the importance of tradition, she shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. Tradition? Is that all you care about? This isn't the 1950s. I replied, my patience wearing thin. Daniel stepped between us, his hands raised in a calming gesture. Mom, you need to leave. This isn't productive. Productive? Mary scoffed. I'm trying to protect my grandchild from a mother who doesn't know any better. Protecting? Is that what you call it? I countered, my voice trembling with emotion. You're trying to control every aspect of our lives. I'm trying to ensure that our family legacy is upheld, she shouted, her face turning red. You think you can just sweep that under the rug? Mary, please, Daniel pleaded, his voice rising. You're making things worse. Worse? It's already worse. You don't see what's happening here. She screamed, her voice breaking. You're letting your wife disrespect everything that I hold dear. Disrespect? Is it disrespectful to want to make my own choices? I challenged. I won't let you bully me into submission. Mary's eyes darted around the room, her rage boiling over. You're going to regret this, she shouted before abruptly turning and storming back out the door. Maybe you should consider how your actions affect your family, I yelled after her, my heart pounding. Once the door slammed shut, I could feel the tension in the air shift. The guests, who had been watching in stunned silence, began murmuring among themselves. Is everyone okay? Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. That was something. I'm just glad it's over, I sighed, my shoulders slumping. But I know this isn't done. Did you see how she was acting? One of my friends chimed in, shaking her head. She's completely out of control. I can't believe she tried to dictate everything, another guest said. This is your baby, not hers. I just wanted today to be special, I said, fighting back tears. Now I'm left wondering if it's all going to get worse. Daniel moved closer to me, placing a reassuring hand on my back. It's okay. We'll figure this out together. We just have to communicate with each other and set clear boundaries. I nodded, appreciating his support. You're right. We need to be a united front. As the guests began to regroup, the atmosphere slowly transformed. Laughter returned as we resumed our games, though a heavy cloud lingered in the air. Let's do the next game, Anna announced, trying to lift our spirits. How about a baby trivia quiz? I managed to smile, grateful for her determination to keep things light. That sounds great. As we gathered for the trivia, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The baby shower might not have gone as planned, but at least I had Daniel and Anna by my side. The games continued, laughter echoing around the room, but my mind kept drifting back to Mary. Would this be the last we heard from her? Would she ever understand that I wanted to be a good mother without her interference? With a heavy heart, I pushed those thoughts aside and focused on the moment. The support of my friends and family was what mattered most, and no amount of drama could take that away. But in the back of my mind, I knew I would need to confront Mary again soon. I needed to establish those boundaries, for my sake and for my baby's. The thought filled me with both dread and determination. I could not let her control my life any longer. A week had passed since the chaotic baby shower, but the tension was still palpable. I found myself frequently checking my phone, half expecting a call or message from Mary, but nothing came. Perhaps she was taking a step back, I thought. But with each passing day, my anxiety grew. I knew I had to confront her. Do you think I should call her? I asked Daniel one evening as we sat on the couch, our hands resting on my baby bump. I think it would be a good idea to reach out, he replied thoughtfully. But remember, you need to be firm about your boundaries. She needs to understand that this is your child and your choice. Yeah, I know, I sighed, looking down at my hands. But what if she doesn't listen? What if this just escalates into another argument? Then we'll deal with it together, he reassured me, his voice steady. I'll be there every step of the way. But you need to stand your ground, for your sake and for our baby. Okay, you're right, I said, taking a deep breath. I'll call her tomorrow. That night, sleep eluded me as I replayed the events of the baby shower over and over in my mind. What would I say to Mary? How could I make her understand that I wasn't trying to disrespect her but rather trying to create my own family identity? The internal dialogue continued long into the night, and finally, exhaustion overtook me. The next day, I sat on the couch with my phone in hand, heart pounding as I prepared to dial Mary's number. I hesitated for a moment, took a deep breath, and pressed the call button. The phone rang a few times before she finally picked up. Hello? Her voice was cold and distant. Mary, it's me, I said, trying to keep my tone steady. I wanted to talk. About what? She replied, the irritation evident in her voice. I think we need to discuss what happened at the baby shower, I started, my voice shaky but resolute. I think we've said enough, she snapped. You made your choice clear, and I made mine. Let's just leave it at that. No, I don't think we can just leave it at that, I insisted, feeling the adrenaline kick in. I love my child, and I want to raise them in a way that feels right for us. I can't have you trying to take control of every decision. Control? You're the one who needs to learn how to respect family traditions. She retorted. Your child deserves a strong legacy. Mary, I respect traditions, but I also believe in the right to choose. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about my family, I replied, my voice rising slightly. I won't let you ruin this child's life with your modern ideas, she said, her tone cutting through the air like glass. Ruin? What are you talking about? I exclaimed. This is not about ruining anything. It's about giving my child a name and a life that we feel is right. You're being naive, she hissed. Children need structure, and you're depriving them of that. Depriving? Mary, if you want to have a relationship with your grandchild, you need to understand that I am the parent. I am the one who gets to decide what that looks like, I said, my heart racing. I don't think you're ready for this, she stated, the disdain evident in her voice. You're just a child yourself. Enough, I shouted, surprising even myself. I am not a child. I am your daughter-in-law, and I am going to be a mother. You need to respect that. The line fell silent for a moment, and I held my breath, unsure of what she would say next. You think shouting at me will change my mind? You think I'll back down because you're angry? She finally said, her voice icy. No, I'm not shouting to change your mind, I said, forcing my voice to calm down. I'm shouting because I am tired of feeling like I'm not allowed to have a say in my own life. I want you to understand that if you continue this way, you'll push me away, and I don't want that. Maybe it's too late for that, she replied, her tone clipped. You've already chosen your path. I haven't chosen anything to hurt you. I'm just trying to do what's best for my family. Can't you see that? I pleaded. I want you to be a part of our lives, but not in the way that takes over everything. Maybe you should think about that, she snapped. I have my standards, and if you can't meet them, then perhaps we're better off apart. Is that what you really want? I asked, my heart sinking. To not be a part of your grandchild's life? I can't be a part of something that goes against everything I believe in, she said, her voice finally softening. You're making a mistake. Maybe we both are, I admitted, feeling tears prick at my eyes. But I want to try to find a middle ground. Can't we at least discuss this? There was a long pause, and I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end. I'll think about it, she finally said, her voice quieter now. But you need to understand that I won't change who I am. Neither will I said softly, a wave of relief washing over me. But I think that can coexist, if we let it. Maybe, she replied reluctantly, and I felt a flicker of hope. But this is far from over. Agreed, I said, determination filling my voice. But I refuse to back down. I love my child, and I want you to be a part of their life, but only if we can respect each other's boundaries. Very well, she said, and I could hear the tension begin to ease in her voice. I'll try to be more understanding. Thank you, I said, a mix of relief and apprehension swirling within me. I want to build a relationship based on mutual respect. After hanging up, I turned to Daniel, who had been silently listening from the kitchen doorway. "Well?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I think we made some progress," I said, though uncertainty lingered in my chest. "She's willing to think about things, but I know this is just the beginning." "I'm proud of you," he said, stepping closer to pull me into a warm embrace. "You stood your ground, and that's what matters." "Thanks," I replied, leaning into him. "I'm still worried about what comes next, though. This isn't over, is it?" "No, but at least now you've laid the groundwork," he said, his voice steady. "We'll face whatever comes together." With Daniel by my side, I felt a little more empowered, ready to face the challenges ahead. The road wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to carve out my own path as a mother while establishing healthy boundaries with Mary. As I rested my hands on my baby bump, I felt a rush of love and anticipation. I wouldn't let anyone, especially not Mary, dictate how I raised my child. And in that moment, I understood that motherhood wasn't just about names or traditions, it was about love, respect, and the unwavering commitment to protect my family's happiness. As I settled into the couch, I felt a gentle kick from within. I smiled, feeling hopeful for the future. Whatever challenges awaited us, I was ready to embrace them head on, knowing that our family's journey had just begun.